Hello, everybody. I just wanted to make a quick video with a clarification point. I guess a little clarification addendum. Since I'm sharing this video through publicly accessible YouTube videos on YouTube, if you just stumbled across this on YouTube, this video is being made to embed into instructions and assignments in a couple classes I'm teaching. So if you're not taking those classes with me, uh, you're not going to be given the assignment or see the instructions that this pertains to. There's no confidential information, so feel free to watch. But if you don't have those assignments, then it probably doesn't pertain to you. So that being out of the way, the point I wanted to clarify is ever since the software development with Python and software development with Java classes have moved to using frameworks, there's been some confusion around the final project. And the final project, there's been a web app made with a framework. And without fail, every semester it seems like one person or one group, depending on how it's distributed that semester, uh, has misunderstood that and made a website. In particular, made a static website. So, like in the case of the Python course, there's using the Django framework to deliver a bunch of static web pages, static HTML pages. There's no Python processing or anything, and um, there's nothing really happening. It kind of missed the point. So I wanted to make a video and clarify this. So what's needed is a web application, and the HTML is just that's just our GUI on it. So I did one here. This one is in Spring Boot and Java. I, uh, I needed to do something. I was doing some stuff in Blender, and I needed a texture that had straight lines, but a nice smooth grayscale between those straight lines, and none of the noise texture generators available in Blender had nice straight lines with smooth texture between them. They had like zigzaggy lines, but I needed completely straight lines with smooth transition between them in order to do a displacement modifier. But either way, I needed this, and I knew I was going to make this. I wanted to make this video, so I went ahead and did it in the form that will kind of like the software development with Java class, but for the Python class, this still applies. Right? We have our uh, requirements where we've got a few, so many classes to make in the particular language. And then we turn that into a web application. So in Python, using the Django framework, or in Java, like this, um, using the Spring Boot framework. Either way, once it's finished, then we have this web application running. If I go ahead and run that and jump over here, and this one's on Java, so jump to the local host. Um, and from at this point, it would be very similar in Python. The difference is I'm using a Tomcat server, so port 8080. But if you did it in Django, unless you changed it, it'd be on port 8000. So there's this web application. This one generates the noise patterns. It generates them, I measured, almost 8,000 times faster than it loads the image in. The preview image is getting the image to the screen is a definite bottleneck there. So downloading the image would be quick afterwards too. It's just getting it to the screen is really, really slow. But instead of random noise, it does use some well-known nonlinear dynamic equations, also known as chaos. So if I switch to a Lorenz map, something scaled in on the Lorenz map, or and then then it takes that and turns it into either Perlin or Voronoi noise. If I pronounced it right, I'm never sure if I pronounced that word correct or not. But either way, I'll generate a new one here. Back to the using the logistics equation. So it's not quite random noise. It's chaos. So this is the exact same pattern it was in the first time one was generated. But it's a working web application, and that's all that's needed in the project. That's how modern software is developed. If it fits into a website and you want to make other HTML pages, that's fine, but you do not have to make those for the project. For example, this one has one page that has HTML in it, and the HTML is only to get this form uh, to make our GUI with. definitely need to go. I need to get in here and do some CSS so it doesn't. Right now the CSS is just blank, but it's just the modern way of making our GUIs. We won't take this last step. I'll go ahead and show this for the video. Um, I did go ahead and once that web app worked, then I come over here and did a build on it. And let me just open this in the text editor. Open that up in the text editor. And then I used Node.js to create the, to instantiate it as an Electron framework. So just a couple files here. So this one, everything in this file was generated except for by Node.js, except for this line. And that's just the one that has the name of my app, or the command to start this app. And then index.js, this is very consistent. This is boilerplate code. It's very much copy and paste. The only thing that changes is the name of your application and the size of the window. Then I also did a batch file to start it. So double click and then it launches that, which starts the Tomcat server, and then it runs the Electron framework that launches this one. Get that out of the way. So that's what's on this shortcut here. Get that out of the way. I'll just click the batch file. I also have a shortcut to the batch file. But that's what we would give the users. And then our web app opens in something that looks like a modern, or looks like a desktop application, even though it's a web application on the back end. Really, it is a browser. We just took the browser bar away so they can't go to a different web page than the one the application's at. But we can still generate the noise and view the noise and see all the stuff the web app does. So the modern way of making software development, we won't take this last step in class, though I do have YouTube videos for doing that in both Django and Spring Framework that I will share the links with. But this video is mostly about clarifying that. Don't need a big, huge website, because ultimately we're going to make something like this. We won't take the last step in class because it requires at least 3 other languages. And these courses are specific for Python or specific for Java. But I do have it as a YouTube video that I will share the link with you all on how to take that last step. But once our web application works, then we launch it as a desktop application. Probably put some CSS in to make it look a lot better than this. But hopefully that clarified that. We don't need a website. We're making ultimately a desktop application. We will just be launching it in a browser for now, and we do that. Phone apps are the same way anymore. We instead of launching it in a browser, we launch it in a special type of window that just looks like a traditional mobile app, but it's actually running a web application. So that way we only have to write our code once. It's the modern way of making software development. That's what the class is doing. So I don't need a website. Really, to get to something like this, it should be a completely standalone application that's not part of another site. I just wanted to share that and hopefully clarify that point. That's what we're going to. But every semester that I've taught both courses, both the Java and the Python one, there's been at least one person misunderstand that and try to make a static website and use the framework to just deliver a bunch of static HTML pages. That's not what we need. We need an actual application. So in the Python course, you have an application where the Django framework is processing the stuff from that form on the back end in Python. And in the Java class, like this app, in the back end, the Spring framework is processing what happens on this form using Java code. That's how it relates to the class. Hopefully that cleared up the misunderstanding, and you can see where how we're making desktop applications. We're just not going to take that last step because it requires 3 more languages, and both of these courses are language specific. So we don't really have time to dive into 3 other languages, but I will share I will be sharing videos with you all that have that last step, because it's very much boilerplate code. It's exactly the same every time once the web app is finished. I hope that clarified the point. I will see you all soon.